Hi, everyone. It's Colleen Meyer. Welcome to another edition of Lafaya Way Live. This month, we're going to be talking about autism. And before we introduce our host, I would like to introduce you to our guest. Her name is Casey Tabolt, and she is a G Institute parenting coach, ICF certified coach, Brainspotting practitioner who helps moms of neurodivergent children. And let me introduce our host, Lafaya Mitchell, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is the author of the Lafaya Way book series. She is the founder of the Parents Empowering Parents workshop series. And Lafaya, it is all yours. Oh, before I go, if anybody has any questions, please put them in the comments. We'll answer them live. All right, Lafaya, it's all yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for another segment of Lafaya Way Live. As mentioned before, we have Casey here, and I'm super excited to ask her questions about the wonderful work that it is that she's doing. I love everything that you're about. I love the holistic approach. But now, before I kind of dig in with more questions, I just wanted to ask you, how did you get into the work it is that you do today?
Well, I took kind of like a circuitous route. I wanted to stay home with my children after I became a mom, and I had an Etsy shop. And a couple years into that, I had my second child, and I hit a wall. I hit burnout, and I ended up in the hospital with an autoimmune disease called Guillian Barre Syndrome. And after that, it was a huge wake-up call for me. It was like, you really need to change how you're showing up as a mom. You can't give every last drop of yourself because there will be nothing left. So when I came home from the hospital, I just really immersed myself in what it means to be a mom and what it means to do self-care. And I started training to be a certified life coach. And then...
Wait, no. So you went from burnout to, okay, we need to figure out the solutions. So I'm going to figure out everything it takes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Yeah, so I got my life coach certification, and then I did that for a couple years, and then my son was recently diagnosed with autism. And as I've gotten immersed in that world, I started this empowered parenting program at the Jai Institute for Parenting. And it completely, while we were waiting for a diagnosis and waiting for all of the interventions to get started, it's completely transformed our house and my son's behavior and everything. And it wasn't based on ABA, and we didn't do any medications, and it was just changing how I showed up as a parent. Yes. So it kind of like blew me right out of the water. And that's when I decided, like, this needs to be brought to the masses. More moms with neurodivergent children need to know about these tools so that, yes, we can more holistically approach our child's needs, and take better care of ourselves too. I mean, I found a whole new level of self-care when I started doing this work.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I have so many questions now. I'm really, first of all, I'm really excited about what it is you're doing. I feel like we share a brain now, and but I forgot to ask one of those pivotally important questions. Like, where are you coming to us from? Like, what area do you live in?
I am in Northern New York.
New York. Okay. So you're all the way in New York. We have never, ever spoken before. And you sound like, well, of course, a more well-spoken, me, but okay. So tell me a little bit about, because quite honestly, to really even come to this at all, this is very truly intuitive. Like it truly is kind of a journey of self-discovery where you're really in self-empowerment, growth, and all of those things, enlightenment, all those things involved in this in this particular process. So tell me a little bit more about those things that you did that created the change, where you really started to see that, oh my goodness, okay, when I show up differently, so do my children, right? So what was the process? What did it look like?
Oh man, how far back do you want me to go?
Oh yeah, you know what? Take it wet. No, no, no. Okay, so I mean, take where you felt where you really recognize. Oh my goodness. They no longer tantrum for 20 minutes, right? We just completely bypass that altogether, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So I've been on this parenting journey right from day one with my son. I just like wanted to read all of the books and I wanted to do all of the things and I like never wanted to hurt him. I wanted him to be emotionally healthy and all the things. So I had been reading. I can't even tell you how many parenting books I've read, and I've had parenting coaches but I always got to that point where I was like, okay, intellectually, I know how I'm supposed to be showing up. I know the things that I'm supposed to be saying. But in the moment, I can't seem to do it. Like I'm so triggered, I'm so flooded that I can't seem to get over that last little hump. So when I started doing the Empowered Parenting Program with the Jai Institute, it really focuses on a lot of neuroscience, a lot of work by Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson, who are huge in the neuroscience realm. And it's really about how do I develop a secure attachment within myself? How do I regulate my own emotions?
Yes.
How do I tap into the science of my nervous system? How do I use my vagus nerve to help me regulate? Because I don't know if your viewers know or not, I'm sure you do, that children are very primitive in their brains as far as emotional regulation.
Yes.
6, 10, 12. I mean, our brains aren't fully developed until we're like, 21 or 28? I always forget the number. So we don't have access to our prefrontal cortex, the front of our brain, where all the thinking and the, what's the word I want now? I can't think of it. Where all the rational thought happens.
Logic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. we don't have access to that until we're like late teens, early 20s. So our children need us to co-regulate with them. They can't self-soothe. They can't regulate on their own. They need us to go in there. And that is even more important for neurodivergent children.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm not sure, I'm not positive how much it is that you know about what it is that I've been doing and what I've been teaching. But oh my God. First of all, I have to say that you said it's called the Empowered Parents Program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I started a program here that I call, and I've never heard of Empowered Parents Program, Parents Empowering Parents. Okay, so the PEP program here, and it's based in seriously almost the exact same things. I started to write the books about 5 years ago, but I've been doing the work for like 15 to 18 years. And that was the first thing that I recognized was that our children who are in the work when I started the work with children on the autism spectrum, and it was really based in kind of my own life, like in my dealings with my daughter, because she was born with a lot of sensitivities. Extreme sensitivities, aversion to eye contact, all the things for attachment. Those things we could not. She didn't allow, like no eye contact. She didn't like people to talk to her. Any sound, somebody knock at the door, scream, and things like that. So it was through the process of really accepting and understanding where she was coming from and understanding her from my own sensitivities, because I'm sensitive, and my own sensitivities, that kind of led me down a road to kind of raise her in a very different kind of way, that people generally don't talk about, right?
Yeah.
And oh my goodness. So Casey, okay, so I know that we only have 20 minutes today, but you and I have to have more conversation because I'm super excited. I'm definitely gonna send you my books because I want you to see them first and foremost, because you'll be like, oh my goodness. I mean, like, seriously, are we sharing a brain? But I'm excited about what it is that you're doing. Now, tell just a little bit of your story, because I know you mentioned your children. Now, what are the ages first of your neurodivergent and neurotip?
My son is 7. He'll be 8 in October, and my daughter's 4. She'll be 5 in October.
Okay, so they're still really young, young. Okay. So,
I'm still in the weeds. Yeah, I'm still in the thick of it.
Yes. Okay, so now tell me a little bit about the philosophy that you come from, as a parent. What is it, generally, we don't always know it, but we all have a philosophy that we work behind. What's yours?
Mine is really based on attachment parenting, conscious, peaceful parenting. It goes by a lot of different names. It's starting to be more mainstream, which I love. But there's a lot of negative connotation around that. Like a lot of people like our society deems a lot of that as permissive parenting, and that's not it at all. Like the best parenting with gentle parenting and conscious parenting also focuses heavily on boundaries. It's just we're setting loving boundaries and we're working with the child to empower them to make decisions and feel like they're a part of their life. And that really came a lot from my own childhood because I was not raised that way. And I knew when I had kids that I wanted to do things differently, but I had never seen a different way. So I didn't know what that looked like. And it's just been, like I said, reading books and getting parenting coaches and just trying to pull all of the things together. And that's what I loved about this Jai parenting program is that it really, and I took, there's 2 different groups that they have. And I took the one where you're certified to be a coach when you finish. So you go through it as a client first, and then you go through it as a coach, which has just, it's so valuable.
Yes.
I lost my train of thought, of course.
Oh, no, that's okay. Now the Jai coaching program, what would you say was the most, like helpful portion of their particular program? And well, tell us a little bit more about it too. Like, how many weeks did it take for you to become a coach, and and what were some of the most important aspects for you?
Yeah, so I went through 12 weeks as a client, and then there's 12 weeks as a coach. So it's a larger commitment of time to go through the whole process. And I think the pieces that really blew me away, because I had already experienced some of the attachment science, and some of like the mind sight and the different things that Daniel Siegel talks about through my first coaching certification. But it was like the nervous system science. They're like, this is why, not just why you're triggered, but this is what's happening in your body, and this is why you're not able to override it. Because for me, it was like I would do it, and then immediately I would just like have this cold wash of shame. Like, why? Like, I know how to do this. I know that I want to do better. I know intellectually that this isn't how I want to show up as a parent. So why do I keep doing it?
Yes.
What is wrong with me? Why can't I be the mom that I want to be?
Now that question, what is wrong with me? That's usually what keeps us from getting to the real answer, because there's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with us. There's just some adjustments that we might need to make in certain areas in order to get to our true selves, right?
Yeah, and it took so much of being able to accept myself and work on my own inner things and that inner critic voice, and to even be able to get to a point where I could look outside of myself and see that my son was struggling. Because I knew he was struggling, but I kept saying, oh, I just must be a terrible parent. I don't have this down. Like, the reason why he's so emotional and he has no, respect for boundaries, or, he can't do this or he can't do that, it must be my fault. It must be something I'm doing. So I'd read another book. I'd hire another parenting coach. But I couldn't get to that point until I had done all of this inner work. And then I was like, oh my God, it's not me. He's struggling. And then I started to get him evaluated. And as I'm learning about ADHD, that was the first diagnosis we got. I was like, oh, okay, so I have ADHD. That would have been helpful to know. And then like, oh, he's on the autism spectrum. Oh, okay, so I have a lot of ASPE and I have some masking, and that would have been really helpful to know.
Right. Make life a little easier, make you like yourself a little more.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, oh my goodness. Okay, so this is also, it's so amazing to me. And I'm really, like I said, I'm excited about the program that you're talking about, and I just have to say that I'm similar. I get into the same space of figuring out the why. Now, my why, it doesn't get as deeply into the neuroscience, and it gets more into experiences. So what have your experiences brought to your life to cause you to have the responses that you do, right? And then also, so past experiences, if you felt bullied, as a child, if you felt like you weren't heard, right? When you have a child who's kind of, a little bit overbearing, then you feel bullied. So then this triggers a strong response in you. And so then you're having a bigger response than maybe you would have if you hadn't had the same experiences, right? And so we get into thoughts like that, and checking in, body cues. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Are they hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Those kind of check-ins that can cause us to have a more exaggerated response than we meant to, right? And so it's kind of like I have it kind of broken down as an acronym FIR. So it's basically find your calm. So that point that you were speaking to, which is you have to find your internal, and not just your outward appearance of calm, but your internal calm, because your children, especially neurodivergent children, especially any hypersensitive child, they're strong emotion soakers. They're strong in sponging.
And they will call BS on that.
All day, every day. And they will feel like you are the most condescending person in the universe. If your internal does not match, it's not congruent with that external experience, they're like, oh, okay, so now I'm just crazy, kind of thing, right? I guess it's just me. No, it's you, right? And so, but finding your calm, that's one, right? They all work together. It's like, and I always say it's like the ingredients to a cake, like you stir it all together. So find your calm, understand the real truth, and a lot of finding your calm comes from understanding the real truth. My responses are not solely due to this thing that's happening right here in front of me. I am not this upset because they won't clean their room when I ask them to, right? Kind of thing, right? There are other factors behind this, right? So understanding the real truth, responding in alignment with your authentic intentions. This is what you've been speaking to all this entire time about as a parent. Now I need to figure out, what it is I truly want and need, right? And then I will work towards, having the responses that I need to have based on the goals that I have. I want my child to feel loved, safe, protected, right? Accepted, heard, all these wonderful things. And that does not happen by way of some of the responses that I'm having. So I'll learn or reactions I'm having. So I'm going to learn how to respond in alignment, right? And I give language for how to do that. And then, last is my 3 R's. But I'm, like I said, I'm super excited about what it is that you're talking about. And now I just want to, I did have one question, because, I kind of just read up a little bit on you too. And you said that you have one child who is diagnosed, and we understand that's on the autism spectrum. And you said another child in your bio, it said that's undiagnosed. Now, can you talk to me a little bit about some of your reasons why you've chosen not to have that child diagnosed yet, or if it just hasn't happened?
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. She's 4, and she exhibits a lot of the same behaviors that I had as a child, and some of the things that I still struggle with. And she also does a lot that her brother does, but he's older. So I don't know a lot of it, if it's just her mimicking her environment, or if it's her actually presenting. So right now I'm just keeping an eye on it. I mean, her dad and I both have ADHD. I have some Aspie stuff thrown in. So is it a pretty good chance that she's got some kind of neurodivergence? Yeah, it's a pretty good chance.
Hi, Lafaya. We got about a minute.
Okay, thank you, timekeeper. She's so much more than that. But no. Okay, I've heard some, talk about maybe not having their children diagnosed if it's not necessary. At times they say, okay, well, and I want to know if maybe that had a little bit to do with it, but that doesn't seem to be what the case is. It's just when if it becomes necessary, then we'll make sure we take the proper steps to get her diagnosed, right?
Yeah, because I'm always the kind of person that I would rather know. Like, I just straight up want to know. Yeah. So, like, just give me the truth. Just tell me what I'm dealing with, and then I can go from there.
Yeah, and let me deal with it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the approach that I take. But like I said, at this point in time, I don't feel like I need to reach out for any other kind of services, especially for her. There's different things that I'm reaching out for to help with my son and just to help him with his social cues and different stuff like that. But he just started football and he's doing so good in that. So
that's so awesome. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with me today.
yeah, thank you for having me.
Really excited about what it is you've learned as a parent, as a coach, and now, probably as a future leader, teaching others about what it is that you're doing. So it's just so exciting to have, just such similar perspectives, and be so far away from one another. It's really exciting to me. So I'm like, okay. And I knew I was the only person in the world thinking these things. Glad to meet you. Now, thank you everyone who joined us today. And if people would like to reach you or take advantage of your services, how would they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook at Casey Tabolt Coaching. CaseyTabolt.com is my website. I also have a Facebook group for moms with neurodivergent children called Parenting the Spectrum. So you can find me in all of those places. I also have an Instagram at Casey Tabolt Coaching too.
Very, very cool. Okay, everybody, I hope you mark that down because she's clearly doing something really awesome. So do you provide services via Zoom or is it in person or?
I do Zoom right now. Yeah, I live in a pretty small town in the middle of nowhere. So I am available via Zoom.
All right, everyone. You hear that? She's available via Zoom, and she has a Facebook group, and she has a parent support Facebook community as well. So please look her up and take advantage of the services that she's offering. Everybody have an absolutely wonderful evening for those on the East Coast, and for us on the West Coast, we're close. So have a great afternoon, and I'll see you soon. Stay you and stay true.